And we're gonna go at the end of my countdown. 3, 2, 1, go!
I'm the Global Runner, and I'm a 51-year-old runner based in Canada looking to break 2:30 in this year's New York City Marathon. I've been training hard recently and I've been doing lots of mileage and races have been going well. I did a 15:57 5k recently and a 33:02 10k also earlier this year. So as part of my training, I thought I would do this corporate challenge 10k, nice, easy, relaxed 10k in Calgary, Alberta, and I'll want to take you through the point of view footage of that race. As you'll have seen from the title, this did not go to plan, and I want to go through the reasons why I think this didn't go to plan and some learnings that I've taken from that. So let's get straight into it. This is the start of the race. I had quite a big group around me, and although you can hear them, you can't quite see them just yet, but don't worry, we'll see some people in a minute. Let's just listen for a second to the sounds of the race, though. I love this. So the shoes I was wearing for this one are the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3, which are my usual racing shoes. I was going to wear the Adios Pro 4s, try them out, and actually in hindsight I wish I had, but I was warming up in them and decided last minute to switch back to the ones that I know, which are the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. Like I say, this is a 10k race and we have the lead bikes up ahead, but don't worry, I will be fast forwarding parts of this. So something I've been doing recently is racing without my watch, and what I mean by that is having the watch on a statistic that doesn't really matter. So I usually put it just on distance, so I can see that it's going, I can see how far I've gone, but I've got no idea of pace or anything like that. And that's worked out well for me in recent races. I've actually focused on racing rather than worrying about, am I going too fast, am I going too slow, what's my pace, and really sort of being present and in the moment. And that has really worked out really well on a number of races recently. So I did the same here. I've got to say, this is the first time where I felt like it didn't work out fully to plan, but that's okay. You do have bad races, and I think the theme that I want to take from this is I definitely did not have a good race here, and that's okay. You're entitled to the bad day, and at least I've got the bad day out of the way before the New York City Marathon. I don't really have any excuses with the course or the weather. I also did a mini taper, but I think part of the taper contributed to the issues that I had on the day. I mean, at this stage I felt okay, but I knew my legs weren't like full of pep. But that's okay, you know, some days your legs aren't full of pep, and that's something you just have to deal with. You know, we're not professional runners, we do our best, life gets in the way, but I knew it was going to be a bit of a grind today. And you can see here we're going through the first kilometre in about 3:25. Again, I had no idea what pace we were doing, but that's about right. If I'm looking for a 3:32 marathon, scratch that. If I'm looking for a 3:30 marathon, then I need to do 3:32 a kilometre. So this was about 3:25 for the first kilometre, which is about 10k pace. So I shouldn't really have been having any issues here. The course is relatively flat. We've got a few bumps and we'll see some in a moment, but you can see we've got sort of 0-1% grades. We go down a little bit. It was a bit twisty, but really I can't have any excuses for the course. We've got a little bump up here and then we go down and then we have a bit of a steep bump in a second. But it was a good course, no excuses on that front. It just wasn't my day. Now I did have a group of about 3 at the moment, and you haven't seen anyone with me at the minute, but there was a guy with me, certainly this whole first section here, where he just looked super relaxed, super easy. His watch was beeping loads and I thought he was playing Pac-Man, but he definitely had a pace thing on. You can see the little hill here. We're up at 10%, 11%, 12% even. And so that was a little nasty little 5 seconds of a hill, which really sort of took it out of me. And I knew that the guy next to me was a lot more comfortable than I was. So I knew I was going to struggle a bit with that pace, but I just wanted to race. It felt like I was going a tiny bit too hard, which is strange because we're only doing marathon pace at this stage. And I knew it was too fast for me, but I wanted to race. I wanted to make sure that I was in the moment. I was feeling the people who were around me, how they were feeling, and I was feeding off that. So we're coming up to the first mile here, and you'll see it coming up in a second. On the Garmin, it said I went through the first mile in 5:34. So the GPS here may be a couple of seconds off, but certainly the first mile that I went through here was 5:34. So let's speed this up a second. So this was not a closed pathway, and you'll see that there were people we had to dodge through, and you'll see in a moment the guy who ended up winning, who bursts ahead, and for a few strides here he's fully ahead, but I could tell he was super relaxed. But I didn't want to just let him get away. I knew we were quite early still and there was a long way to go. In fact, we're just coming up to the 2k mark here in about 6:49. So that was a pretty similar pace for the second kilometre, which was, again, another sort of 3:24, 3:25, which is a pace I should have been comfortable at. And at this stage, obviously, I didn't know why I was feeling sort of heavier, and I was just trying to sort of dig in and make sure that I didn't feel terrible, and see if I could turn it around. Like I knew that I had strength in my legs. I knew I could hang on. And at this point, I was just thinking, if I can just stay with this guy, maybe until the turnaround, then I can dig in on the way back. Anytime he came ahead, he looked super easy and I could feel like he was jogging along. So I knew that the race was his, but I was just trying to hang with him as long as possible. Now, I didn't know it at this point, but we were heading up to the 3 kilometre mark and we went through there in 10:15, let's call it. So that is another 3:25 kilometres. So the first 3 kilometres have all been pretty consistent in terms of pacing and time, despite the fact that they were a little bit bumpy at certain points. It was a lovely, crisp day in Calgary, and as you can see, not a cloud in the sky. Just super fun to be out running and having a good time, really. We were coming at this point up to the 2 mile mark, a little bit of a bump upwards here, but we hit the 2 mile mark in 5:28. So that is 6 seconds faster than the first mile. Now remember, again, I didn't know what pace I was running. I had my watch switched off, so I couldn't tell what pace I was running. All I knew was this guy with me here was looking super easy, and I was struggling to stay with him. But I just kept thinking, if I could just stay with him until the turnaround point, which I knew was coming up soon-ish, then I would probably be able to hang on. But then there we have it. I think we've all felt this in a race before. This was the point that he stopped toying with me, and look how quickly he's getting away from me. I knew at this point that I was going backwards, and I couldn't tell if I was slowing down or if he was speeding up. I mean, I was doing similar pace. Again, I knew my legs were feeling heavy. I knew I wasn't feeling great, but he just turned on the jets and he was getting away with me at a pace. So at this point, I was just thinking, settle in, relax, just really try and consolidate what you've got. One of my friends was behind me. We had dropped him at this point, but again, he comes past me at some speed in a moment. And so I don't know if I let the race get to me. I don't know if I let the pace get to me, but from this point on, everything just felt like a real grind and a real struggle, and the fatigue in my legs that I'd been tolerating previously really were not started to kick in at this point. But I was thinking, head down, let's keep it going. We could still salvage this could still be a good race. I knew I was going to be suffering at some point, but I just wanted to make sure that I put my best effort in. So we went through the 4k mark here at 13:43, which was a 3:29 kilometre. So I had dropped about 4 seconds on this kilometre, which is probably the distance between me and him. So this was probably a case of me just cracking rather than him speeding up necessarily. But of course, I didn't know any of this at this stage because I wasn't looking at my watch. And maybe this is a race where I should have been looking at my watch. Easy to say in hindsight. And certainly my desire at the time was to feel the race and run the race as a race rather than a time trial. So I guess I can't second guess that decision, and I've just got to live with how the things went. So at this point, we're coming up to the turnaround, and you can see my friend, who I know really well, just came flying past me. And again, same thing. He didn't just come past me, he came flying past me, and he dropped me quite easily. So this was a bit of a low moment. I was thinking, well, things are not going great. You can see I'm running 3:36 a kilometre, which is slower than marathon pace. So I don't really know what was going on. That's the 5K in 17:16. Now that's interesting actually, because in the race itself, and I do think the race was slightly long, we'll look at that in the Garmin at the end. But what I did, and I do this sometimes when I just want to check where I am in a race, when I hit that 5K mark, I just glanced at my watch, and I remember in the race, I think it said 17:16, which is consistent with what we saw here. And all I could think at the time, that's me looking at my watch with my head waving around like that. But all I could think at the time was, man, I did 3 sets of 5K last week with the Extremely Tall Runner along the road in Banff. And if you haven't watched that video, then definitely go and watch that. And the third of those 5Ks, when I was like, I don't know, like at least 25K into the run, was done in 17:26. So here we are today. I've gone on a full out effort. I'm feeling exhausted. I'm not feeling great at all. And I only ran 10 seconds faster than my third rep from the previous week. So that was in my head, and I knew that I wasn't having a good one. But what can you do? You just got to dig in, you got to consolidate. So at this point, I was just trying to hang on, just trying to feel relaxed and make sure that the guys ahead of me didn't get too far ahead. Or at least I didn't give up, and I gave myself a solid effort, and an effort that I'd be proud of. Listening back to this right now, I can hear that my breathing is all over the place. I think I was trying to get control of it or something. That's not something I was conscious of at the time, but clearly I'm working hard. My heart rate is 163, so I don't know, there was something wrong with the legs. I should have been able to push a bit harder than this. The pace was a lot slower than it should have been. Again, it seems to be jumping around all over the place with the GPS at the minute, so I think there's issues with going over that bridge there. But it's always good with these races where you have an out and back, you have people cheering you along, and it's super fun to have these people sort of keep you accountable and make you realise that you're running a race with them, and this is part of the whole race. So it's a really good race experience when you have this out and back like this. Then as you'll see now, we're sort of heading up towards 7 and a bit K, and this is the turnaround for the 5K. So this is where I had people to race against. These people who are coming racing with me now are part of the 5K, which went off, I guess, about 15 minutes after we went. So all of these runners who are with me at the moment are part of the 5K, which was good. I'd lost the guys in the 10K that I was racing against, couldn't see them at all in the crowds anymore. So I was just working on trying to pick off these people in the 5K. But of course, they are running faster than I am because they were running less distance. So it's always a bit difficult and challenging. But I think that was what I needed at this point. I needed a little bit of a boost to try and make sure that I didn't just relax and just trudge my way back in. You can hear my breathing was working overtime there. Again, I wasn't conscious of that during the race. I, obviously try and keep breathing as something that I don't think about, but clearly I was working hard, and we went through 8k there, and obviously that's also 5 miles, and we did that in 27:45. So I mean, I was holding pace. It was 5:38 for that mile, which is just under marathon pace. Sort of maybe we're looking at sort of 3:30 or 3:28 for the kilometer, which is just under marathon pace. But of course, I'm working way harder than I should be to hold slightly faster than marathon pace. I said I'd give some sort of takeaways and my learnings from this, and I do think that one of the learnings is that during this sort of mini taper I did do some static biking, and maybe that was it. I think maybe I just took the pep out of my legs. I only did like 2 or 3 static bikes of maybe half an hour, nice and easy, nice and relaxed, over a period of about 3 or 4 days. But maybe that was it. I think maybe that just took the edge out of my legs, and I just wasn't feeling it today. But that's okay. You can't have a great day every day. So as you can see, we're coming up to the 9-kilometer mark, and then unfortunately this happened. I know, I did it again. I can't believe it. The camera ran out of batteries at 9k, which is annoying because I put it at 1080 as the resolution, so it would last longer, and the internet said it would last for 38 minutes, so maybe I should have just run faster. But anyway, I missed the last kilometer, which isn't the end of the world. It was more of the same. I ended up running, and you'll see on the screen, I ended up running 35:26. So I was not happy with that. That's like nearly 2.5 minutes slower than I've run this year. Obviously at elevation, it was slightly long, but I'm not going to blame anything like that. It just wasn't my day. So you get days like that. I'm really not sure what happened. It may well have been the bike riding took the juice out of my legs, and that's fine. Nothing I can do about that. But I'll remember that for the taper, and going forward, I'll make sure that I don't make that mistake again. But realistically, it was a decent 10k marathon pace training program, training schedule, training session, whatever you want to say. And I've put it behind me, and we're looking forward. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Please mash that like button. And next week, we're going monster mileage. So hang around for that.